Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're looking at the totally fascinating, deeply human intersection of animal companionship and mental well-being. Look, I think a lot of us have felt that undeniable bond with a furry friend, right? That amazing sense of unconditional love that just seems to magically wash away a terrible day. But what does the actual data and psychology tell us about the real weight these companions carry during our darkest moments? Well, we're going to break down the science of how different animals actually affect our psychology and explore what truly creates a solid safety net for our mental health. So, does owning a pet actually lower suicide risk? It's a profound, really heavy question. If you go up and ask a dedicated pet owner, their immediate emotional response is probably going to be an absolute resounding yes. But when we dig into the source material from a psychological and statistical perspective, you know what? The answer just isn't a simple yes or no. The reality of how pets impact our deepest psychological struggles is so much deeper, highly nuanced, and honestly, profoundly fascinating. While there isn't one absolute answer, there are definitely clear patterns in the research that we can learn a lot from. Okay, let's dive into this with our first section, the dog effect, focusing on activity and connection. So what exactly happens to our daily lives and our mental state when we bring a dog into the mix? The research points out that having a dog creates this kind of, forced companionship. Your dog literally doesn't care if you're feeling down or if you just want to hide away from the world under the blankets. They have to go out, and that enforces a regular daily routine. It gets you out the door, moving your body, and, this is incredibly important, making contact with sunlight. For folks experiencing severe social isolation, just walking a dog dramatically increases your chances of social activity and human interaction. You instantly become visible in your community. You are physically pulled out of your isolation by the sheer responsibility of caring for this active animal. Now, let's pivot to the feline side of the equation, the comfort of cats, focusing on calm and relief. And this brilliantly illustrates the core psychological difference between the two animals. Because, as the psychology clearly shows us, not everyone needs or can even handle a high-energy intervention to find psychological comfort. On one side, we have the active engagement of dogs, those daily rhythms and that forced companionship we literally just unpacked. But look at the other side. Cats provide something fundamentally different: emotional presence, quiet comfort, and stress relief. They offer a passive, calming energy. They're not demanding a walk in the pouring rain. They simply sit with you in the quiet. This shows us that these animals serve entirely different psychological needs based on exactly what the owner is going through in their own mind and body. Which brings us to our next section, finding the right fit and matching needs to pets. This brings us to a really, really critical point. There is currently no reliable scientific evidence that definitively proves owning a dog prevents suicide better than owning a cat, or vice versa. It entirely depends on the individual's specific stressors, their personal capacity, and their daily lifestyle. If your life situation means you need to be pulled out of your own head and you desperately need to establish a daily routine, the ideal pet is a dog. If you are highly lonely and lack real-world connection, again, a dog's forced interaction is a super powerful tool. But, and this is a vital distinction in the research, if you are highly stress-sensitive, if you are dealing with severe social avoidance, or you're just busy with very limited energy, the daily demands of a dog might actually become a massive psychological burden. In those specific cases, the quiet, low-stress interaction of a cat is a much healthier, way more sustainable long-term choice. It's all about finding the exact right fit for your specific psychological state. So, the crucial point is this next section, the paradigm shift, looking beyond the pet. We need to zoom out for a second and look beyond the pet itself. Because while we absolutely love our animals, the paradigm shift here is realizing that the type of pet is not the ultimate deciding factor in suicide prevention. According to the psychological data, what's truly and strongly correlated with the reduction in suicide risk are core, human-centric, and structural factors. Do you have interpersonal support from other humans? Do you feel needed in your family or community? Do you have a stable life structure? Are you receiving professional psychological therapy or support? And crucially, are you actively addressing long-term systemic states like depression, trauma, insomnia, or substance abuse? Impartially speaking, science tells us that these foundational elements are what truly mitigate severe mental health crises. The animal is a wonderful companion on the journey for sure, but these elements are the actual road to recovery. Which leads us to this incredibly poignant takeaway derived right from the source data. Pets can be a vital support, but they are not a standalone solution. I really want you to take that in. Animals provide us with incredible, undeniable comfort. They love us without condition, and they anchor us in the present moment when our minds desperately want to wander into dark places. But they cannot replace the vital foundation of human connection and professional medical help. They're a bridge, they're a supplement, they're a wonderful comfort. But the heavy lifting of mental health and suicide prevention ultimately requires a human safety net. And that leaves us with one final essential question for you to reflect on today. Who is in your support system? Beyond the wonderful dogs and cats that share our homes and our hearts, who are the people, the professionals, and the structural safety nets that you can lean on? Take a real moment to think about that and remember that building that human connection is just as important, if not way more so, than the unconditional love of our pets. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and please, take care of yourselves out there.